Hi chaps, bit of a different video for you today. Today is the 1-year anniversary of my surgery. I've never spoken about it, and I thought, well, it's on my mind, and yeah, I think, I'll share it. So, where to begin? Just prior to Christmas, a year and a half ago, I had a bit of a twinge. Didn't think too much of it. Went to bed, pain subsided, fine. Then we get into sort of the end of April, and I can feel that there's something not right. And I finally get an appointment with the doctor, with the local GP, and beginning of May, and he had a good poke and prod and booked me in for blood tests and an ultrasound, and I had to wait 6 weeks for the ultrasound to come around. And when I went to the GP, my local doctor's, my tummy was fine, but it was hard. Within the 6 weeks wait between the blood tests and the ultrasound, the blood test results did come back a couple of so weeks later, and it said that my C25 whatever was high, but it was still in the acceptable range, but very high on the border. So don't worry, we'll see what the scan shows. And within the 6 weeks wait of having for the scan, the ultrasound, my tummy grew. I was also offered within that week a job that I absolutely wanted. I've been wanting it for a very long time, and I sent off my CV, and it was all looking like it was going to, be a winner. And then I got the phone call from my GP the very next day, actually, after the ultrasound. And she was like, "Hello, is that Rebecca?" And I was like, "Speaking." She said, "Are you sitting down?" And I was like, "Oh God." I was like, "Well, I'm actually stood at the top of the stairs. This can't." That's like, but if they ask you, "Are you sitting down?" this can't be good. So I took a deep breath, and she said, "You have a very large mass on your ovary." And she said, "Don't worry, don't panic. It may not be cancer. It might be okay. A lot of the time these things are okay." I was thinking, And she said, "But we're going to send you to the oncologist. You are on the emergency list. You'll be meeting with him next week." I was like, okay. I went, so I had to turn down my job, because at that point I thought I was just poorly with my liver or something. I thought, oh, I was a bit inflamed, I had no idea I had a mass. So I had to turn down the job, and went to see the oncologist. Had a nice little chat with him. He asked me to get onto the table and to lift my top. And he came round the curtain because it had been drawn, and he went, "My God!" I think he was very, very taken aback with the sheer size. He did a tiniest bit of poking and prodding and just was like, "Why didn't you come to me sooner?" And it was like, well, I've gone at the pace that I could go at. You know, this has all happened within the 7 weeks from seeing the GP through to seeing him. So it's just, it was basically a runaway train. The sheer size. I was measuring it every day, my tummy, and every day it was growing approximately 1 centimetre. So we're talking 2 inches within a week, give or take. It really was just expanding at a rate that was insane. And so he booked me in for one of those donut scans, and I had to wait 2 weeks between seeing him. I got a phone call that morning to say he'd had to cancel the appointment, and I remember I was just sat on the bath in floods of tears because I was in so much pain, so uncomfortable, because at this point things were really starting to get quite bad. The donut surgeon, doctor, person, he had the most incredible poker face ever. I got nothing from him on the day, and so I was sat there and crying, and then the phone rang again, and it was the receptionist saying, "Can you still make it?" Obviously, the oncologist had taken one look at the scans and was, "Get her in now, get her in." So we made it, Mummy and I. We got there in the nick of time, and he showed me the picture of my tummy. I've never been able to actually have my actual picture, but I will put on the community feed along with a few other photos something that I found on Google which looked fairly similar to what I had. If I'm able to find it on my phone, or find it on Google again. At that point in the proceedings, bearing in mind this is only, we're now talking 9 weeks from going to the GP with a flat tummy, but just hard down where the liver is, this side. This bit here was hard, but everything else was still fine. It basically was a cyst on my ovary, which was just growing. And it was cancer in the ovary. All of it was just going nuts. And it was pushing all of my internal organs up into my rib cage. So my stomach, my liver, everything up, squashing my heart, squashing my lungs. My bowels were completely crushed. By the time it came to the operation, that's what was happening. It was just simply everything within the tummy area, within the torso, was just near enough the cyst, which I named Molly. So he sort of said, you know, we'll do what we can to save what we can, but prepare yourself, you know, near enough. He was basically telling me he was going to take everything. And that he was going to get me on the table as soon as his team were back from a COVID break. So sort of within, I forget the dates, but I mean that was sort of mid-July, so we're talking within another 2 or 3 weeks I was booked in on the table. August the 3rd. So the morning comes round, my lovely neighbour, she dropped me off, and you have to get into your paper knickers, don't you? And you sit down with them and the actual surgeons, and they said, okay, well, this is what is likely to happen. These are all things that could happen. And I was like, oh. And he says, you don't seem very well informed on this. Would you like to go away and think about it? And I was like, well, I mean, I know that the consultant said that, you know, he might have to take other things, but nowhere near the amount of list of all the potential problems that were picked up in the scan that the surgeon had listed on his paperwork. And so I was like, well, I don't think this thing is something that time heals. I know, I can feel that I'm not in a good way, and not to get over dramatic, but I can feel that I'm dying, you know. I mean, it's, yeah, you know, I mean, at that point my heart was trying so hard to pump the body around, but all my blood was pooling into my legs to the point where I couldn't bend my legs. I looked anorexic up the top here because all the fluid in my body was falling down, not being pumped up. My heart was really, I was asking a lot of it, you know, and I was having to take little, like, sort of 7-year-old wasp breaths because my lungs simply didn't have the room to expand. I couldn't eat anything because my stomach again was squished in my rib cage, so I could just about manage maybe 1 meal a day, and then the odd little sort of tiny bit of snacks throughout it, maybe, you know, a bit of fruit, or, you know, a small handful of nuts or something, or a bit of smoothie, and that would pretty much be it. So I thought, no, you know, what am I going to wake up to? From the looks of it, they're picking me over like a Christmas turkey. I mean, I have no idea what I'm waking up to. But any further time, any further delay is not going to be to my benefit. So I have to just be brave. And we have to do it. We have to go for it. So, that all being said, I had the anaesthetist, I mean, they're all mad as hats. They really are, from what I've heard from all various sources. And this one was no exception. He was like a 6.5-foot Asian hippie that should really have been in Woodstock, not in a theatre. He still had his festival bangles on, and you know, and he came in going, chill out, it's all right. And I'm thinking to myself, this isn't the bedside manner that I thought I'd be getting from someone who's about to, you know, have my life in his hands. You know, along with the rest of the team, but hey ho. And so I thought, well, at least if I go, I'm going in the hands of a madman. It's fine. Yeah, so I was first upon the day. So the moment the team went back, I mean, I think they pretty much got me straight onto the table as near as quickly as he could, straight on. I had to walk down to the corridor. I was hoping they were going to sort of knock me out in a room and then do what they needed to do. But no, I had to walk down the corridor. Quite a long corridor. I was perfectly fine, actually, because I was in such disbelief. I wasn't dwelling on it, because there's nothing you can do to change it. You know, I always think that you should when there's problems in life that you've got, if you can fix them, if there's anything you can do to change the situation to a better outcome, or to be a better this and the other, then you should go for it. You know, it's in your power. But when there's nothing, it's a surgical procedure. There's nothing you can do other than drinking plenty of water and trying to eat healthy. Then maybe do a bit of exercise, trying to, you know, walk it off. And I did do that, but yeah, we gave up pretty quickly on that, because my heart simply just couldn't. I had to stop 3 times, and it was only something that normally on any other walk it would be maybe a 5-minute kind of just walk around, literally just. But I couldn't even do that. I had to stop twice en route. So we kind of me and my neighbour, we gave up on that idea. So, yeah. So I think, you know, don't sweat the small stuff. If there's something you can do to be better, then great. But if it's completely out of your hands, then there's no worrying about it. Doesn't achieve anything. Doesn't. So, walking down the corridor, perfectly fine, until I sort of turned the corner and saw Theatre 5, with the doors and the Theatre 5, and I thought, ooh, okay, first bit of reality, ooh. Pretend you're working on Holby City. You're used to this, you're used to a theatre setting, pretend you're working on Holby City. So I was fine. I walked in through the doors, I walked past some people. I mean, I just didn't take much of it in, because, but there was various people there in their sort of their white coats and, you know, fiddling around on sideboards with stuff. And I just thought, well, maybe they're the extras, you know. It wasn't until the anaesthetist, the hippie, told me to get on the table. And for a start, I noticed how tiny this table was. I thought, blimey, it's really quite small. But, you know, easy for getting around. Oh no, it's raining on all my washing. Oh, never mind. I'm telling a story. Yeah, I was fine until that point, where I had to go and sit on the table and lie down on the table. Then I couldn't pretend any longer, because as a crew member, I never do that. The SAs go and do that. So this is very unusual. All of a sudden, it's real and it's scary. However, I lay back, and I was like reaching my hand up, like, please just hold my hand while you knock me out, you know. And it did go through my head at that point, this is the very last time you've got the opportunity to say, Rebecca, that, you know, please don't take anything, you don't have to. I'd been told by the oncologist that he wouldn't. I was told by my next door neighbour, who is an A&E nurse, that no, they do not take, unless they absolutely have to, they do not take anything that they haven't got to. They will try and leave you as intact as possible. So I was believing that, and I had the faith in that's what it was, that they weren't just going to take everything because that's just what the paperwork said. Like the oncologist said, because I was so big by the time we got to the donut scan, that the donut scan couldn't actually penetrate through Molly, the cyst. So he didn't really know what to expect until you opened me up on the day, which again was another worry. You know, what am I waking up to? I was never worried about, you know, will I be waking up? I thought, no, my time isn't yet. But it's, what am I waking up to? What state am I going to be in after they've had a good rummage through and taken everything they need to take? So, I in my head I was like, this is your very final opportunity, Rebecca, to run it home that you've not had children. Please, and you can say it directly, do not take anything. However, I didn't, because I'd made up my mind that, you know, I'd had plenty of opportunities to say directly, you know. The thing is, there's only so many times you can say, and I did say over and over, I've not had children yet. I haven't had children yet, to everyone along the chain. I haven't had children yet. You know, I'm not married, I want to do it properly, I haven't had children yet. After I sort of came round and I was in the wards and it was all the aftercare, a nurse did say to me, what was your plan of action for children? You know, because I mean, you're facing 40, love. And I didn't remember at the time. I knew I had a plan, but I simply just couldn't remember it. My plan was to give Mr. Wonderful till I'm 40, my 40th birthday, to turn up, and hopefully he'd want a child and we could have a family together and it would all be lovely. However, if he didn't turn up, when I hit 40 on my 40th birthday, it was going to be a toss-up between how am I doing with my career, how is my work doing, is it going okay, or do I feel like I'd much rather have a family, step back from a career, do more of a normal sort of job, but have a child, have my own baby, you know, and just go it alone. And that was a decision I was going to make when I was 40. On my 40th birthday, I'd know where I was. The reason why I'm leaving it so late is because I was giving Mr. Wonderful the opportunity to turn up. In a nutshell. Maybe I shouldn't have done that. Maybe I should have been a lot less selfless, and maybe at 35 I should have had a child, and then I would have had one before all this happened. But you can't dwell on it because, well, this is the path that you're on. This is what's happened. Can't change it. There's only forward to look. There's only forward to look at, you know. So, yep. He sort of puts the mask on me. He says, breathe deeply, 1, 2, 3, you know. And then next thing I know, I'm waking up, I'm coming round. They were expecting me to be on the table for 5 hours, and I ended up being on there for 3. I woke, I think I came around sort of around 2:45 in the afternoon. I had to be at the hospital for 7 in the morning, and then they sort of do all their paperwork and aprons and, you know, paper knickers and things, you know. So yeah, it wasn't too bad. It only took 3 hours instead of 5, so that was a positive. I got to speak to Mummy on the phone. Load of drivel, I'm sure, but wonderful. Then they wheeled me down, and I really wanted to have my eyes open and watch the lights go. You know, in those, you know, in the medical TV shows where you see, you know, when they're lying in there and the lights go, but I was way too nauseous for that, so I had to do it with my eyes closed. But I was quite enjoying the journey. And then we sort of, you know, plonked me next to a window, looking onto some greenery and a lovely tree and, you know, a few birds and stuff. So that was really nice. I was really happy with that. I got a window seat. And yeah, everyone, they were bustling all around me and everything. And it was all lovely. And the aftercare nurses, the ward staff, they were really, really nice. You know, a mixed bag between them that are worn out or they need a break from it, and the ones that are just full of gusto. A complete mixed bag, but all in all, that, you know, they take wonderful care of you. God bless the NHS. Yeah, so after that it was simply the aftercare. There was a lot of sort of being poorly, Had some probes put in with a pack. There was a pack thing for an anaesthetic or something to help with the wound, and there were probes that were put into my stomach, all sellotaped on. I had over 50 staples. It went sort of, again, I was very pleased with it. They did an incredibly neat job of it, and they didn't have to go as high as I thought they were going to have to go to. They did say they were going to have to go from the very top of the rib cage down, but they've actually managed to save me just that couple or so inches of unmarked skin, so it's not uncomfortable for me to wear bras. So it's lovely. So God bless them on that one. They've done a very neat job. I have felt that there's been no pings or pangs really. There's, you know, the odd tiny little thing where most of the weight was on that hip, you know, so there's a little bit of that. But other than that, and I woke up and I didn't look down. I sort of put my arm out and I just kept going down. I was like, okay, well, that's where Molly should be. She's not there. She's not there. And I kept going down. It was a point where if I go any further, I'm going to hit the mattress. Where am I? And I finally made it, and I must have been about that thin. I thought, this is got to be what the nearest to being a Keira Knightley I'm ever going to get. So, but yeah, so the surgeons came round afterwards, saw me, and they were absolutely elated. And I think it's because there wasn't nearly as much wrong with me as they had anticipated there being. They took 12 litres of fluid out of me from the cyst. It was, I think it was about 15 kilo, I think, which was, it's about 30 odd pounds worth of weight that was taken. So if you can imagine, 6 of those Coca-Cola bottles was what I was carrying, plus a bit extra. You know, my back was loving it. Yeah, I wasn't as in bad a shape as they thought I would be. They were expecting me to be, and there was sparkles in their eyes because they were so happy that actually my body was a lot more robust than they were anticipating it to be. And I put that down to years and years of eating off the garden, made from scratch meals, goodness in you. The body's resilient. It does show the importance of the nutrition that you put in, that it's not so much about the aesthetic or anything like that. It's more to do with preventing illness. You don't, the best cure is prevention. You don't want to get poorly in the first place, but if you do get poorly, that your body has got the stamina, it's got the fight in it to ward it off. So that's what was really sort of drummed home to me, was that a strong bod on a molecular level, that's what you need. You need that, and you need that little bit of weight so that if you are poorly, you can lose it without your body struggling to find the energy to keep going, because it'll start eating itself to keep you going. If there's very little of you, then, you know, but again, too much is not good for you either. But, you know, it's eating your variety of foods, and yeah, having that in your mind, you know, is so important. So important. So anyway, so they left. We did, before they arrived, there was a ward doctor that came round with a file. They come in a pair. There's a doctor and a assistant doctor, and she was like, oh well, they were able to save, you know, some of your. They were able to save it, so they just took, you know, the cyst and the cancer, the tumour, out. And I was like, wow. I was like, really? You know? And it did surprise me just how elated that thought was. I could still have my own child, you know? that even surprised me. Just, I was so relieved. I was so happy I could have my own child. And then the assistant went, no, tap, tap, tap on the folder. No, it's been, she went, oh, I do apologise, it was a full one. I was like, oh, I've just come round and that's what I'm greeted with. Okay. Seriously? Wow. But, there we go. Whew, gone. But, you know, yeah. I didn't want to fill the oncologist's head or the surgeon's heads or anyone's heads really with, you know, please don't take what you don't have to, please leave in blah 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 blah, you know, because the thing is, I'm not a doctor that's looking over this body. I wanted them to be simply surgeons looking over a body, seeing what it's like on the inside and making their judgments on a surgical, medical level. And fate rests as to whether I can or cannot have children. They've taken everything. I cannot have children of my own. If we were a little bit further along in the research of IVG, it may be possible, but I don't think as near as it is with the research, they're really getting there, but I sadly think that I might just be too old and I might just miss the boat on that one. But for same-sex couples or for people who have had cancer such as I, who are unable to have their own biological children naturally, of course, it may very well in the future, let's hope very well in the future, that it will be an option for them. But it doesn't look too promising for me. I've been on the roller coaster of really hoping that it would, but no. So Mummy came in every day to see me. I had lots of contact with various people. I didn't realise how loved I was, you know. Some people have really gone above and beyond anything I would have ever expected of them ever do. And then others who I would have expected more from, I've received next to nothing. So when you are vulnerable, you really do see who cares for you. It's not even who's there for you, it's who shows that they care, that they love you, you know. And they're the ones that are worth everything in your life. And the others, well, you've got options with them, but the others, the ones that show they care, they're good uns. They're good uns, and you love them, and you know, you're your own little family together. Yeah, so I don't think there's anything else to say really. You know, the main surgeon came round and he was like, right, let's get you, you know, I want you up and walking. The next thing you've got to do is walk, because there's all the room in there, your bowels can twist and everything. So I said, don't you worry, I won't let you down. I'm going to be walking this corridor. And I did. And he wanted to, bearing in mind, my operation was Wednesday morning. He wanted me out Friday evening. I was like, a day and a half? I've just been cut open and had my engine taken away from me, you know, as a woman. And you want me gone? And he was like, oh, you live on your own, don't you? I was like, yeah. And he was like, oh, you can stay till Monday. I was like, oh, cheers. I was like, I'm here for the free food. I'm here for the not washing up. You know, I've bought my sachets of ketchup. I am here for the works, love. I can see the menu. I want to order everything on it. The annoying thing is that I was so poorly, I couldn't eat anything because I was throwing everything up. I was asleep because I was knackered, you know. By the time I came round to actually being okay, and I'm thinking, right, I can tackle this menu now, it was Monday morning. I was like, oh, no, This is what I've come for, the non-washing up, having food cooked for me. But I've got to say, the chocolate pudding was very nice. So, and the salmon dish was lovely. But, yeah, so there was a lovely garden for me to walk down, sit in. And we spent lots of hours there. It was beautiful sunshine, bees, tweedling of birds, you know, it was really nice. And yeah, that was kind of it. So I thought I'd share it with you. I don't know what anyone may get out of it if you're looking at you know, having to have surgery or whatever. It's just really the take home is to just take care of you, take care of yourself, and treat yourself well. Treat yourself to the best and the finest that you can, you know. And that doesn't necessarily mean caviar and lobsters and oysters. It just means, you know, your greens. You know, eat your greens, as the old books say. I'm still learning that one. I never have been a fabulous greens eater, but I'm definitely making the efforts. And yeah, I don't know what else to say on it, but I just thought a year from now, you know, year anniversary, I'll share my little story. Yeah. But so I will put some photos in the community section, and I'll catch up with you again soon. Take care. Bye.